All right, today we're going to dive into the world of Maurice Ravel. Now, you should think of him less as a composer and more like a sound architect. Seriously, this guy didn't just write notes, he built entire musical worlds from the ground up. And to kick things off, let's start with a piece of music that I can almost guarantee you've heard before, even if you have no idea what it's called. It's been in movies, commercials, you name it, it's literally everywhere. Okay, so the piece is called Bolero, and its secret sauce is something called a crescendo. All that means is getting gradually louder. But Ravel, he took that simple idea and just went all in. Bolero is basically one massive 15-minute long crescendo. The melody is super simple, almost hypnotic. The real magic is in that slow, steady, relentless buildup of sound. It's kind of breathtaking. And here's how he does it, like a master builder. It starts with just a whisper, the steady, unchanging rhythm on a snare drum. Then a single flute comes in with that famous tune. After that, more and more instruments join in, but here's the crazy part. They all play the exact same melody. They just layer on top of each other, getting louder and louder until, bam, the entire orchestra is playing at full blast. It's such a simple concept, but the way he controlled it, pure genius. So you gotta wonder, right? Who is the brain behind this incredible experiment? What kind of person writes one of the most famous pieces of music ever and then basically says, it was just a technical exercise? Because seriously, that's what Ravel thought of Bolero. Just an experiment. Well, to figure that out, we've got to get to know the man himself. So let's dive in. Who was Maurice Ravel? Okay, so check out his life. He was born in 1875 and lived all the way to 1937. Think about all the change he saw. He went from a world of horse-drawn carriages to cars. He actually served in World War I as a truck driver. And get this, he even toured the US and met jazz legends like George Gershwin. All of that stuff, it all got mixed into the music he wrote. And Ravel himself was a really interesting guy, full of contrasts. His dad was a Swiss engineer, super precise and technical, but his mom was from the Basque country, giving him this deep connection to Spain. And you could totally see both sides in him. In public, he was known for being a perfectionist with his music and always dressing impeccably. But in private, he loved Siamese cats and mechanical toys, a total blend of art and engineering. All right, so what was his secret? What made his music sound so different? Let's get into what I'd call his creative superpower. You'll often hear his music called impressionist, even though, funny enough, he wasn't a huge fan of that label. But the idea is pretty cool. Instead of telling a straightforward story with a beginning, middle, and end, his music is more like a painting made of sound. It's all about creating a mood, an atmosphere, a whole vibe. But where he really shined was in something called orchestration. This is the key. Think of an entire orchestra as a giant box of crayons. Every instrument, the violin, the trumpet, the flute, is a different color. Orchestration is the art of picking which colors to use and how to blend them together. And Ravel? He was an absolute master. He was mixing sound crayons to create colors and textures that nobody had ever heard before. Here's another way to think about it. If most composers were following a recipe, Ravel was like a master chef in the kitchen, just inventing a whole new dish from scratch. He'd take instruments and make them do things you wouldn't expect, combining them in these surprising ways to create these, well, magical and shimmering sounds that became his trademark. And if you want proof of just how good he was at this, look no further than Pictures at an Exhibition. It was originally a piece for the piano, written by another composer. Ravel took it and reimagined it for a full orchestra. And guess what? His version is now way, way more famous than the original piano piece. That's how good he was. Now, his music wasn't just about that cool French precision. There was another key ingredient in the mix, something that gave it this incredible, vibrant energy. He had a whole other rhythm in his blood. And that rhythm, it came straight from his mother. She was from the Basque country, which is this really cool region right on the border of France and Spain. And this wasn't just some trivia fact about his life, it was a huge source of inspiration for him, something he came back to again and again. You can totally hear Spain all over his music. He used these amazing Spanish dance rhythms, like the bolero, hey, you know that one now, and the habanera. He even figured out how to make a piano sound like a strumming guitar. It was this mix of Spanish fire and French coolness that created a sound that was totally fresh, and people absolutely loved it. So all of this brings us to the big question, right? Why are we still talking about a composer who died so long ago? What makes Ravel still so important today? Well, the short answer is his sound is everywhere. The things he came up with didn't just stay in the classical music world. The sound worlds he built and the textures he invented are now part of the DNA of the music we listen to every single day. Seriously, his ideas became a kind of blueprint for so many people who came after him. Think about the epic, emotional soundtracks in big Hollywood movies. That lush, full sound, that's Ravel's influence. Or the complicated, beautiful harmonies you hear in modern jazz. Yup, you can trace that back to him too. He didn't just write great tunes, he literally gave musicians a whole new set of tools to work with. Which leaves us with this one last really cool thought. What if the world's most famous orchestral piece was just homework for its creator? Ravel made Bolero, this piece that people all over the world absolutely love. And for him, it was basically just a technical challenge. It just goes to show you that sometimes the greatest art doesn't come from some huge grand plan. Sometimes it comes from the quiet, focused work of a true master, a true sound architect.